Welcome back to The Explainer. Right now, we're right in the middle of a mega event of record-shattering scale happening in our own backyards across North America. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is completely rewriting the script of the world's most popular sport. It's a real game changer. So let's unpack the logistics, the controversies, and the wild new rules of this tournament together. Here's our roadmap for this 39-day global marathon. We're going to break this down by looking at the biggest tournament ever, 3 nations, 16 cities, changing the rules, the teams and debuts, and finally, the path to glory.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the biggest tournament ever, expanding the beautiful game.
Let's dive right into the very first massive change, 48. For decades, we've all been so used to that classic 32-team format. But starting with this edition, FIFA has aggressively expanded the field to 48 national teams. That's a whopping 16-team increase. Now, this idea had actually been floating around since 2013, championed by various officials. And despite critics arguing it might, dilute the overall quality of the matches, the expansion was pushed right through.
Building on that incredible scale, we arrive at an absolutely staggering number, 104. That is the total number of matches being played in this tournament, up from the traditional 64. Just think about that for a second. It's a massive increase in physical demands on the players, logistical nightmares for the host cities, and, of course, the sheer volume of soccer available for all of us watching worldwide.
So the leap we've just taken is astronomical. We're going from a 32-team, 64-match tournament squeezed into a 32-day window into a grueling 48-team, 104-match, 39-day marathon. To make this whole shebang work, the teams are split up into 12 groups of 4. This radically extends the tournament's footprint, all while cleverly keeping the maximum number of matches for a team reaching the final to just 8.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. 3 nations, 16 cities, a North American mega event. Now, this 104-match distribution is, it's pretty heavily unequal. Canada and Mexico are hosting 13 matches each, while the United States is taking the lion's share with 78 matches. And get this, that includes every single knockout stage match from the quarterfinals all the way to the final. But this tri-host format brings us some really amazing historical context. Mexico actually becomes the very first country in history to host or co-host the World Cup 3 times, following their legendary 1970 and 1986 tournaments. The U.S. is hosting for the second time since 1994, and it is a massive grand debut for Canada as a host nation. Here's a pretty surprising fact, though. Of the 3 host nations, Mexico City is the only capital city selected as a venue. Washington, D.C. and Ottawa were both candidates, but they just didn't make the final cut. And since this tournament has a distinctly North American flavor, it's borrowing directly from an American sporting tradition. For the first time in FIFA World Cup history, the final match at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey is going to feature a Super Bowl-style halftime show. Produced by Global Citizen, it'll co-headline Madonna, Shakira, and BTS. Talk about a bold move to drastically increase the entertainment value of that final broadcast.
All right, let's get into Section 3, changing the rules, the war on time wasting.
Let's run through these aggressive new anti-time wasting measures, because they are literally changing the entire flow of the game. Get this, substituted players now have exactly 10 seconds to exit the pitch. If they don't, their replacement has to wait a full minute to enter. Referees can also visually count down 5 seconds for throw-ins and goal kicks, and if the goalie dawdles, boom, possession flips. Also, if a player goes down needing medical treatment on the pitch, they are now forced to wait on the sidelines for 1 full minute before returning. Plus, anyone leaving the field in protest gets an automatic red card. No messing around. Officials are cracking down so hard, it's actually led to an incredibly specific new rule, the mouth-covering red card. Basically, if a player covers their mouth with their hand, arm, or shirt while confronting an opponent, it's an automatic red card. This is designed entirely to stop confrontational or insulting behavior that players used to hide from lip readers and cameras. It's a massive, massive shift in on-pitch discipline. All of this also completely alters tournament strategy. If teams are tied on points at the end of the group stage, the first tiebreaker is no longer overall goal difference. Nope, it is now the number of points earned in head-to-head matches between those tied teams. What that means is directly beating your group rivals is way more mathematically important than just running up the score against the weakest team in the group.
Next up, Section 4, the teams and debuts, new faces on the world stage.
Beautifully, this expansion has opened the door for nations who have literally never been here before. We have 4 incredible debut nations taking full advantage of the expanded format to make their first ever appearances on the world stage: Cape Verde, Curacao, Jordan, and Uzbekistan. This is exactly what proponents of the 48-team expansion were hoping to see, growing the beautiful game in totally new corners of the globe.
Of course, getting these 48 teams organized wasn't without its intense scrutiny. The official draw ceremony took place in December 2025 at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. During the event, FIFA presented what they called a FIFA Peace Prize to Donald Trump. As noted in the reporting of the event, this specific award presentation fueled immediate scrutiny and controversy among human rights groups and analysts. It certainly set a highly talked about stage before a single ball was even kicked. But back on the pitch. The expanded field has brought us some seriously explosive offenses. As of June 26th, we actually have a 3-way tie for the top-scoring teams coming out of the group stages. Germany, France, and the Netherlands have all absolutely dominated their groups, netting 10 goals each. Honestly, the attacking talent on display so far is just phenomenal.
Finally, we reach Section 5, the path to glory, navigating the 39-day marathon. Let's walk smoothly through this timeline. The groups kicked off on June 11th down in Mexico City, but notice what happens on June 28th, the newly introduced round of 32. Because of the expansion, we have an entirely new knockout tier added right to the calendar. From there, the survivors push through the round of 16 on July 4th, the quarterfinals starting July 9th, all the way to the big final in New Jersey on July 19th.
To really understand how we get 32 teams out of the group stage, we need to look at the knockout funnel. With 12 groups of 4, it's not just the top 2 teams from each group that advance. To fill out that 32-team bracket, the top 2 teams from each group go through, plus the 8 best third-place teams across the entire tournament. This creates an absolutely frantic math problem on the final days of the group stage, as teams fight for those final 8 lifeline spots.
And as we head into these fierce knockout rounds, we have a very tangible stat to follow. The number 5. As of June 26th, that is the number of goals scored by the current leading goal scorer, Argentina's Lionel Messi. Even in an expanded, grueling format, the legendary defending champion is proving, without a doubt, he is still a monumental force to be reckoned with. We've seen the unprecedented scale here, right? 48 teams, 104 matches, incredibly strict new rules, and a massive North American footprint. But I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder as the knockouts unfold. Does a massively bigger World Cup truly mean a better, beautiful game? We still have a whole lot of soccer left to play to find out. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and enjoy the rest of the tournament.